Hey guys! Welcome back to DMB's channel, the #1 place for people who love design, art and all things creative. My name is Laz Here and I do graphic design and illustration, and in this video I'm gonna show you how I design type-based logos and graphics in Adobe Illustrator. Manipulating type and letter forms, customizing typography sounds like a rather intimidating part of graphic design, which seemingly needs a lot of technical knowledge with all these scary phrases like kerning, or ligatures, or baseline shift, but I can assure you there is no gatekeeping in this video. Most of the time when I do stuff like this, I use the simplest, easiest to follow Adobe Illustrator tools for my work. Come, let me show you. Before we jump in, let me set up the brief I'm working on. In my previous video I have mentioned that I'm working on a set of graphics for this wildlife magazine. Now they are called Conquer Nature. In that video we focused on the illustrative parts of the project, but this time we're gonna work on the logotype. Now I have already presented some concepts to this client in regards to where I think we could take their typographic logo. They need something which has a vintage, handmade, organic feel to it, with a lot of character. So I presented 4 ideas to them. The first one was this flowy, very scripty looking logo with all these nice natural curves and letters sort of colliding with each other, onto each other in unexpected ways, just like white plants in nature would, right? Then the second one is a much more modest solution based on a pretty much normal looking serif font, where the concept was to slightly tilt the O in Conquer to make it resemble, well, a conquer. Idea 3 was this elegant one, which in a sense carries on the first idea's concept of letters and ligatures joining each other, but this time I wanted to use capital letters to make the whole design feel a bit more sophisticated. And the last concept was this angular one, which is supposed to represent twigs, dry tree branches in a fall forest landscape, in contrast of the previous soft flowy ideas. So after presenting all these ideas to my client, they have decided that they like, well, all of them. They like the look and feel of idea 1, so this should be our template. But they like the O being a conquer from idea 2 as well. They also really enjoy this unique relationship between the letter N and K from idea 3, especially when I started playing around and make it look like it resembles a foxtail. And they also really like the idea of dry twigs being in there as well, from idea 4. So my job today is to create a new hybrid typeface, which assembles all these creative ideas into one final text-based logo. Lots to do. Let's get on with it. I thought first of all I'm going to recreate the joint NK shape in the word conquer using idea 1's font and see where that takes me. I believe this is going to be by far the hardest bit to get right, so I thought let's start with the heavy lifting. As you can see, I type out the word in the right font, and I outline the text by doing a right click, then create outlines. And as the first step, I use the direct selection tool to select some of these points of the letter N, and I bring these points down a little bit by hitting the down arrow key on my keyboard. Something like that. Then I use the pen tool and I attempt to draw out the missing ligature, which is going to join this letter to the bottom part of the K. If you follow along, take your time with this one, as getting this right might take a couple tries. Once I created a connection, I used the Shape Builder tool to actually unite these different shapes together. It is very roughly done, so now I can go to each of these selection points, and again, with the direct selection tool I have the ability to modify some of these curves and directions. Now, my secret weapon to make things feel a bit more natural in these situations is the Smooth tool. You can find this under the Shaper tool, and what it does is, if you repeatedly draw over a path, it essentially simplifies that bit of the design, thus making it look more natural. It's like magic. Now for me, this NK connection in its current form just doesn't work. This K looks more like a B to me, so I'm gonna go back and try using a capital letter K instead. So let's type this word out again, outline it, redo the ratios a little bit with the direct selection tool, then I copy and paste the old version in place. And I just erase the overlapping bits to see how this would look. Now this already looks much better to me, so again I'm gonna smooth things out with the Smooth tool, and then I leave it for a bit so I can move to another aspect of the work. Now let's start manipulating the O to make it look like a wild chestnut. First of all, I think this idea worked well because of the sheer simplicity of it, so I'm gonna try to do the same trick and rotate the letter a little bit. Then I wanna erase this overlapping fancy serif bit, just so we have more of a natural looking circle like negative space in the middle here. Yep. Now with the shape builder tool, I want to turn this white space onto an actual shape and move it to the right a little bit. I think by having this not slap bang on the middle, we will automatically create a more organic look to this conker. Now with the smooth tool, I'm just gonna rough some of these edges up a little bit, and you know what? I'm gonna delete this bit where it joins the N. Then I put this aside. This will do for now. Now I really want to show you how I came up with this twiggy design for idea 4, because it's actually much simpler than you would think. The key to this effect is the Add Anchor Point tool. You can find this under the Pen tool, this little one with the plus sign. And what it does is, it lets you to add extra selection points to a shape path, which you can manipulate later on. So what I did with the E in nature, for example, is I added an extra point to the bottom here, between the edges of the letter, then selected it with the direct selection tool, and I just simply moved this point a little to create this jagged, spiky look. That's all there is to it. So I go in and add some of these little spikes to my letters wherever it feels appropriate. On some of them, of course, I add some branches with the pen tool instead of taking things away like this. Everything needs to be balanced out at the end of the day, right? Okay, that's most of the heavy lifting done. So now that things are shaping up, and it kind of looks like we might as well just get away with mixing all these creative concepts into one thing, we can go back and polish some of the finer details of this design, so we can really bring this piece home. First of all, this NK relationship still needs some fine tuning. What the client really liked about this idea is how it suggests a foxtail shape, which, let's be honest, is not there in this version just yet. So I thought, let's break this connection up here in the middle part of the K and create a spike here. I do this by drawing an overlapping white shape with the pen tool. Then with the shape builder, I subtract the overlapping parts by holding down Alt and drag my mouse on top, like so. Now after all that work, I have decided that I don't really like this conker O. This rough, unpolished look with this font looks a bit amateurish, so I brought in a new, perfect looking O from the original font. I moved the negative white space to the side, and I also brought in this little twig from the N overlapping into this, just so it looks a bit more prominent. Then, as the last little step, I thought I would create a zigzaggy breaking point into the K, just so it looks even more like a foxtail, to recreate that effect where the fox's tail breaks from the orangey brown color to white. Now, when I pair up this typographic piece with the illustration I did in the previous video, it looks like these designs. Let me know what you guys think. I think it looks pretty decent. Other than that, I hope this video debunks some of the myths which might have been keeping you from experimenting with letters and fonts in logo design. Just as a summary, the 4 key tools that I always end up using are the pen tool to create new parts and shapes, the eraser tool to delete and clear out the old ones, the shape builder tool to unite or subtract all these new shapes and parts, and the smooth tool to polish things up. Needless to say, there are millions of other ways and methods you can do this kind of graphic design work. My way is quite crafty and hands-on, and I guess it does require a lot of groundwork to get good at eyeballing and chopping things up at the speed that I do, but at the very core of it, it's a very simple exercise. So if you want to steal all these tricks, practice and let me know how you get on, okay? Guys, if you enjoyed this video, feel free to join our creative crew. As you just witnessed, I'm all about digital art and branding, while Jacqueline's content is focusing on interior design and architecture, insights, tutorial, and so much more you wouldn't even believe it. Other than that, leaving a like is always nice because it helps us to reach even more people with this channel. And if you want, you can let me know down in the comments what do you think of this new haircut. Was it a huge mistake or do you dig it? Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that. See you guys this time next week. Bye!